Is the ICP rally officially dead? Well, we're going to be talking about that today because obviously we have seen a massive retrace in price. Anybody who knows how to look at a chart can see that, but there are other things going on within the crypto ecosystem that could change how things are looking for that ICP chart sooner rather than later. So we're going to be talking about all of it today. We've got a little bit coming from kind of more of the macro side of crypto. We're starting to see price turn around slightly. We're seeing a possible short squeeze on the books, all of this type of stuff. So we're going to be taking a look at all of it. First off though, let's go take a look at the chart and we can see kind of the major problems that we're seeing, right? So first off, we saw that major move to the upside. Good news overall. We see that retrace, which again, not anything too concerning, especially where we dropped here, tried to kind of reclaim this key level of support, got rejected. Again, not the end of the world per se. Obviously that would have been like ideal, but then we saw it get supported kind of as we got lower to this liquidity zone. Turnaround would have been good there, right? But then obviously we've continued to sell off here. Now, none of this looks particularly great from like a technical perspective. I'll be the first to admit that. And I do think, if you were looking to sell in the immediate term, this was the obvious place to do it. I personally took a little bit, but I did not sell much at all because I'm more interested in the long-term prospects of ICP. I generally, getting in on the day or like the short-term trading can be a little bit of a slippery slope there. So there are certain things that I just will not do, even though at that point it was obvious that it was a good sell. So if you were looking for kind of a short to mid-term swing, that of course was the right place to do it. Now though, we got to look and see kind of, how far back we go. Right now, this is probably an okay place if we start to see a bounce. Again, we're slightly below kind of this bouncing zone that we've been around in. So catching some support here would be ideal. If not, we're probably likely going back to this level at which we see probably like 100% retrace of the pump, which is obviously not good news. But given the market that we've seen, it's not anything super surprising to me overall. You can see today we are actually green on the day, which is relatively good to see. But if you look at the week and the month, it's very, very, very red for a lot of different cryptos. We can still see ICP up 30% in the past month. So we are starting to see sentiment maybe start to turn around. It's hard to say for sure. We are getting maybe a little bit more positive momentum coming in, but again, nothing really too crazy to get too excited about because there is still a lot to the upside, or a lot of headwinds running against us right now. First off, we can see we are in extreme fear. Keep in mind that while ICP did all of this, we have been in the fear and extreme fear range. So this pump was never, expected, in my opinion, to do like a 30x or 20x or whatever. I do still think I'm more interested to see kind of where we settle. Where we settle to me is a bigger indicator of the strength of the project rather than how high, because the fact that it pumped at all was like, there was really no reason for it to, given the horrible market that we were in. We continue to be in extreme fear. So the fact that we're seeing ICP sell off is not at all surprising to me, like even a little bit. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it and what my plans are for the future. Of course, you need to be able to understand what your plans are and what your investment plans are and be able to make those decisions yourself. I don't know what they are, so you should not be listening to me as kind of telling you how to advise or how to invest, how to do all that. First off, I'm not a financial advisor. And second off, it's your money. You need to take responsibility for it. And so one thing that we are seeing though recently that I am finding a little bit inspiring is the fact that we are starting to see Bitcoin do a little bit of a bounce and turn around. However, the risk here is you will see we've never actually seen more than one green daily candle, and it does appear that we may be looking like we're getting rejected at this 87,000 level of resistance. If we do get rejected, then of course we could be continuing to sell off further and go further down, in which case that would probably lead to more ICP selling, and we probably go back down seeing a 100% retrace in an otherwise kind of difficult market, which again in my mind is not anything super unusual or would not be very shocking to me. Now of course you can see we are outside of being oversold at this point. From the Bollinger Band's perspective, we are still technically oversold from an RSI perspective, but we are getting very, very close to kind of popping out of that. So this could be that bottom we were looking for. It's hard to say for sure. You can see though there is about $8.5 billion worth of shorts that would get liquidated if Bitcoin pumps 15%. So we'll have to see if Bitcoin can pump 15%, but there is definitely a ton of pressure to the upside if we can get a little bit of kind of short-term momentum, which recently we have not had. So we can't count on that, but that is something that is definitely, something to be taking a look at and keeping a very close eye on, because if we start to see some momentum come back into the market, I do expect we should be able to see some momentum come back for ICP. We've just recently seen some of it, so we want to see kind of what it comes back to, right? So that is going to be kind of what I'm looking very closely for. If we can see this market continue to turn around, we would like to see some momentum go back into ICP. But again, it's crypto, you never know. Generally, when the crypto market does well, ICP does not. So potentially, the fact that the market is turning around means that it's going to be bad news for ICP. But again, we just really never know. I'm just going to be kind of taking it day by day and playing it based on what makes the most sense to me at that time. So the other thing that we are seeing as well here with Bitcoin is there's kind of a interesting observation that's going on here. So Bitcoin is about to close its second consecutive weekly candle below the EMA 50 level. In 2018 and 2022, this resulted in another 50% dump. The only way Bitcoin won't dump is if the 4-year cycle is truly dead. So this is, again, kind of another opportunity where you need to decide what you believe. Is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle dead? If it is, then obviously maybe we have a little bit of some upside to come back to. If it's not, well, then we're probably going to see potentially, another 50% dump. Given the fact that we never saw that much of a blow off top, I think 50% seems a bit aggressive. I think we probably see our way back down to maybe, 68 probably being the base case, 62 being like a bear case, and then like 58 being like a super bear case. But we'll have to see. Of course, anything can happen. I don't know exactly. This could have been the bottom, and maybe we take another run. I do think that there is a world if we start to see a little bit of momentum coming here on Bitcoin. Since people have been so bearish and shorts are piled in so heavy, I do think we could see a little bit of a rally coming up towards the end of the year. Maybe a little bit one of those like Santa Claus rallies. It is the holidays. That is generally, a little bit of a stronger time of the year. So if we were to see that, we could see Bitcoin rally. And from there, again, I would be looking very, very closely on ICP to see what ICP does. Because ICP, of course, we would want to see some momentum based off the back of this recent move that it's made. If it comes back and kind of starts to do this again, I would say that is a disappointment and a letdown coming from the ICP chart. So we're going to have to look very, very closely and just keep a close eye on what happens here for ICP. Right now, the way I look at it, of course, I am looking at this level. If we continue to break it, then we're probably looking back towards 100% retrace, which I would say is not positive for ICP. Anything, in my opinion, anything above 100% retrace is some level of positive. Obviously, kind of the less it retraces, the more positive it is. So at this point, I would say it would be only very slightly positive. If we can then see another move back to the upside, then, of course, we'll go from there. So overall, though, another thing that I actually saw on X the other day that I wanted to mention is Dominic Williams was talking about just some of the things that have been going on within the crypto space in various projects. He was referencing Near specifically. It sounds like the Near DAO has been coming in and starting to buy up the price of their token to stay ahead of ICP. ICP, Dominic Williams admitted this, does nothing to help the price of their token at all, which I think is fairly obvious to any of you who may not have known that and are surprised. Just look at the chart. They don't do anything to essentially help or support the price of their token, which some of you may disagree with. I slightly disagree with, but also his reasoning is we put it all back into R&D. Basically, R&D will win at some point. And then, of course, if they build a valuable project and a valuable product that can support its own price, then they don't have to do any kind of inorganic things to keep price buoyed up at a certain level. And so that is one thing that I find kind of an interesting comment. I do think that overall, we'll have to see. And a lot of this is just execution risk, right? The risk here is that the ICP team cannot execute at the same level that they're expecting to. And then, of course, the price suffers for tech that never comes around. So that is one thing that we're going to have to take a very close look at and just keep a close eye on. Overall, like I said, I'm pretty neutral on ICP right now. I am comfortable with the level of exposure that I have. If it goes up, great. If it goes down, whatever. That's kind of just investing for you. So that's kind of where I'm at. Again, of course, if you are feeling some heartburn with this dump and with your exposure, maybe you're a little bit overexposed, and you should just take a closer look at that. And if we do get another run like we saw over the past several weeks, maybe consider, you know, readjusting that allocation a little bit if you are feeling a lot of stress. So overall, hopefully you found the information in the video useful. I still remain cautiously optimistic on ICP. Of course, the impatient people out there are, you know, feeling a little bit discouraged or disgruntled, but that's their problem, not mine. So if you did have any comments, questions, anything like that, feel free to drop those in the comment section. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do so. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.